I died at 33 in rising floodwater, holding my 6-year-old daughter Emma above my head until my arms gave out, and we both drowned. My husband Ryan had taken the car, the emergency cash and our evacuation supplies to save his mistress Jennifer, because she doesn't know how to swim, and I was always so capable in emergencies. The last thing I saw was Ryan's taillights disappearing down the street, Jennifer in the passenger seat, while water poured into our first floor and Emma screamed for her daddy. My name is Sarah Chun, and I spent 8 years being Ryan's capable wife. The one who handled emergencies, fixed problems, managed everything, while he positioned himself as the hero to women who needed protection. Women like Jennifer, his co-worker who'd never changed a tire, never paid her own bills, never faced a problem she couldn't cry her way out of. When I opened my eyes again, I wasn't in whatever comes after drowning. I was 32, standing in our kitchen 6 months before the flood, watching the news forecast predicting an unusually active hurricane season. 6 months. I had 6 months to prepare for the flood that would kill me and my daughter if I didn't change everything. I walked upstairs where Ryan was on the phone, laughing. Through the crack in his office door, I could see him video chatting with Jennifer, who was describing some crisis with her apartment's plumbing. "Don't worry," Ryan said in that protective tone I knew so well. "I'll come over tomorrow and take a look. Sarah can handle things here. She's good at that kind of stuff. Sarah can handle it. Sarah's capable. Sarah doesn't need help." The phrases that had defined our marriage and led to our deaths. I went back downstairs and opened my laptop. 6 months to prepare. 6 months to become so self-sufficient that when the flood came, I wouldn't need Ryan at all. First, I checked our finances. In my previous life, Ryan had controlled all the money, joint accounts he monitored, credit cards he approved, savings he managed. This time, I opened my own account at a different bank and started quietly transferring money. $20 here, $50 there. Nothing obvious enough to trigger questions. Second, I researched flood preparedness obsessively. Evacuation routes. Emergency shelters. Waterproof document storage. Survival supplies. I bookmarked everything, printed guides, made lists. Third, I started taking Emma to swimming lessons twice a week instead of once. "She needs to be a strong swimmer," I told Ryan. "Just in case." "In case of what?" "We live nowhere near water. Flash floods can happen anywhere. I want her prepared." Ryan shrugged, already texting Jennifer about something. "Whatever you think is best. You're the prepared one." Over the next months, I assembled our survival kit methodically. Waterproof bags for documents, birth certificates, insurance policies, bank information. Cash hidden in multiple locations. Non-perishable food. Water purification tablets. First aid supplies. A hand crank radio. Flashlights. Extra batteries. I stored everything in the attic in waterproof containers, telling Ryan I was organizing old photos. I also got my driver's license renewed. I'd let it lapse in my previous life because Ryan always drove. I test drove evacuation routes. I identified which shelters accepted pets. I memorized emergency contacts. And I watched Ryan. He was barely home anymore. Always at Jennifer's apartment, fixing her problems, being her hero. She called him for everything. A spider in her bathroom. A weird noise her car made, questions about her bills. And Ryan went running every time, positioning himself as the capable man saving the helpless woman. Meanwhile, I was home being capable with everything else. Emma's school, the house maintenance, the bills, the planning, the real work of keeping our lives functional. 4 months before the flood, Ryan came home late with lipstick on his collar. Not Jennifer's shade, she wore pink. This was red. "What's that?" I asked, pointing. "What?" He looked down then flushed. "Oh, Jennifer must have." We hugged goodbye and she must have gotten makeup on me. "Jennifer wears pink lipstick. That's red." His face went through several calculations. "Maybe she changed shades." "Why are you interrogating me?" "I'm not interrogating. I'm observing." "This is exactly your problem, Sarah. You're always suspicious, always assuming the worst. Can't you just trust me?" In my previous life, I'd backed down. Apologized. Convinced myself I was being paranoid. This time I just said, "No. I can't trust you. But it doesn't matter anymore. What do you mean it doesn't matter? I mean I've stopped expecting you to be trustworthy. It's freeing actually. When you stop expecting anything, you stop being disappointed. Ryan stared at me like I was a stranger. Are you saying you don't care if I'm cheating? I'm saying I'm focused on things that actually matter. Like making sure Emma and I survive whatever comes next. Survive? Sarah, what are you talking about? You're being dramatic. I wasn't being dramatic. I was being prepared. 3 months before the flood, I did something I'd never done in my previous life. I confronted Jennifer. I found her at the coffee shop near her office. She looked exactly as I remembered, blonde, petite, with that helpless demeanor that men like Ryan found irresistible. Sarah, she said surprised. What are you doing here? We need to talk about Ryan. Her face went carefully neutral. I don't know what you mean. Yes, you do. You've been having an affair with my husband for at least a year. Maybe longer. I haven't. Ryan and I are just friends. I don't care. I kept my voice level. I'm not here to fight with you or convince you to stay away from him. I'm here to tell you something important. Jennifer's eyes narrowed. What? Hurricane season is coming. When the evacuation orders come, and they will come, Ryan is going to choose you over me and our daughter. He's going to take our car, our supplies, everything, to save you. Because you're helpless and I'm capable. And if you let him do that, you'll be complicit in whatever happens to us. That's insane. Ryan would never. He absolutely would. And will. So I'm giving you fair warning. When he shows up at your door during a disaster, trying to be your hero, remember that he's abandoning his child to do it. Jennifer's face went pale. You're trying to manipulate me. I'm trying to save my daughter's life. What you do with this information is up to you. I left her sitting there, hopefully with doubt planted in her mind. 2 months before the flood, Ryan announced he was going on a work trip with Jennifer. For how long? I asked. A week. It's a conference in Miami. Jennifer's presenting and she needs support. Support for presenting at a conference? She's a 30-year-old professional, Ryan. She gets nervous. You know how she is. Yes, I know exactly how she is. And I know exactly what this trip is. Ryan's face flushed with anger. If you're accusing me of something, just say it. I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm observing that you're going to Miami with your mistress while your wife and daughter stay home. What you call that is up to you. She's not my mistress. We're colleagues. Colleagues who share hotel rooms and whose relationship you hide from me? I'm not hiding anything. You're paranoid and controlling and... I'm prepared. I interrupted. That's what I am. Prepared for you to be exactly who you've always been. Ryan left for Miami. I used the week to finish my preparations. I transferred the last of the money. I made copies of all the important documents. I mapped out the exact route we'd take when evacuation orders came. I even test drove it with Emma, turning it into a game. Why are we practicing driving so much? Emma asked. Because Mommy wants to make sure we know how to get places safely if we ever need to. It's like a treasure map. We're making sure we know the way. Where's Daddy? Daddy's away for work. Is he ever coming back? I looked at my 6-year-old daughter in the rearview mirror. Yes. But when hard things happen, Daddy might not be with us. So Mommy needs to make sure we can handle things ourselves. Like superheroes? Exactly like superheroes. 1 month before the flood, Ryan came home from Miami distant and cold. He barely spoke to me, spent all his time texting Jennifer, and started sleeping in the guest room. The weather forecasts were getting serious. A major hurricane was forming in the Gulf, predicted to make landfall in our region within weeks. I suggested to Ryan that we should prep. Prep for what? Some hurricane that might not even hit us. The forecasts are pretty clear. It's going to be bad. Sarah, you're overreacting. You always do this, catastrophize every little weather event. I'd rather be prepared and wrong than unprepared and dead, I said. Ryan rolled his eyes. Fine. You prep. I have actual work to do. By actual work, he meant helping Jennifer move to a new apartment. He spent 3 weekends helping her, leaving me to handle everything at home. 2 weeks before the flood, I packed 2 bags. One for me, one for Emma. Clothes, medications, important items, everything waterproofed and ready to grab. I put them in the attic next to the survival supplies. I also told my parents what was coming. Mom, Dad, you need to evacuate early when the hurricane warnings come. Don't wait for mandatory orders. Honey, we've been through hurricanes before, my father said. Not like this one. This one is going to be catastrophic. Please just trust me. 1 week before the flood, the hurricane intensified to Category 4. Ryan was at Jennifer's apartment, making sure she was prepared. I loaded the car with our bags and supplies while he was gone. I filled the gas tank. I withdrew the maximum cash from ATMs. I made sure Emma's tablet was charged with her favorite shows downloaded. When Ryan came home that evening, I told him, I'm taking Emma and leaving tomorrow morning. The mandatory evacuation order is coming. Tomorrow? That's ridiculous. The storm isn't hitting for days. I want to beat the traffic. We're leaving at 6 a.m. What about me? What about you? Where am I supposed to go? I looked at my husband, really looked at him, and saw the man who'd let me and our daughter drown. Wherever you want. But we're leaving with or without you. You can't just take Emma. I can and I will. You can come with us or you can stay, or you can go to Jennifer. Your choice. Ryan's face went through several emotions. This is about Jennifer, isn't it? You're punishing me. I'm protecting our daughter. If you see that as punishment, that tells me everything I need to know. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept checking the weather, the evacuation routes, the news. The hurricane was intensifying faster than predicted. It would hit in less than 48 hours. At 5 a.m. I woke Emma. Time for our adventure. Are we going somewhere fun? We're going somewhere safe. Like the superheroes, remember? I loaded her into the car along with our supplies. Ryan stumbled out in his pajamas. You're really leaving? Yes. What if the storm isn't that bad? Then I'll have wasted gas money and a hotel night. But we'll be alive. I think you're being paranoid. But fine. Go. I'll handle things here. What things? You're planning to go to Jennifer's, aren't you? Ryan's face told me everything. She needs help. She doesn't have a car. She doesn't know how to evacuate. And what about your daughter? You just said you're taking Emma somewhere safe. She'll be fine with you. You're good at this stuff. And Jennifer isn't? Jennifer needs me, Sarah. You never have. There it was. The truth I'd always known but he'd never admitted. You're right, I said quietly. I don't need you. I never did. I just loved you. But love without partnership isn't enough. Goodbye, Ryan. I got in the car before he could respond. Emma waved to him through the window. Bye, Daddy. Ryan stood in the driveway in his pajamas, looking confused. Like he couldn't believe I was actually leaving. I drove away without looking back. The evacuation route was already getting crowded at 6 a.m. By the time we reached the highway, traffic was stop and go. But I'd expected this. I'd packed snacks and drinks and entertainment for Emma. I'd planned for a 6-hour drive that might take 12. Mommy, where's Daddy? Emma asked around 8 a.m. Daddy had to help a friend. But we're going to be safe, just you and me. Like superheroes? Exactly like superheroes. We reached the inland hotel I'd booked at 4 p.m. The parking lot was packed with evacuees. I got us checked into our second-floor room, and we settled in. Emma was tired but excited, treating it like an adventure. That night, I barely slept. The news showed the hurricane intensifying, the storm surge warnings increasing, the evacuation zones expanding. People who'd stayed behind were now trapped as roads flooded. I thought about Ryan and Jennifer somewhere in the flood zone with no supplies, no preparation, no plan. In my previous life, Ryan had taken everything to save Jennifer, leaving Emma and me to drown. In this life, I'd taken everything to save Emma, leaving Ryan to face the consequences of his choice. The hurricane made landfall at 10 p.m. the next night. Even 200 miles inland, we could feel it. Wind rattling the windows, rain pounding like drums. Emma was scared, so I held her and we watched cartoons on the tablet with the sound up. Mommy, is Daddy okay? I don't know, baby. But we're okay. And that's what matters right now. The storm raged all night. By morning, the news showed devastation. Our region had been hit by a 20-foot storm surge. Entire neighborhoods were underwater. Cars floated down streets like toys. Houses had collapsed. People were being rescued from rooftops. I stared at the footage, remembering my previous death. That water rising. Emma crying. My arms giving out. This time, Emma was safe in a hotel room, eating breakfast and watching cartoons, completely unaware that she'd just survived something that had killed her in another timeline. 3 days passed before I could even try calling Ryan. The phone lines were overwhelmed. The cell towers were damaged. Finally, on day 4, my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello. Mrs. Chun? This is Dr. Martinez from Regional Medical Center. I'm calling about your husband, Ryan Chun. My heart stopped. Is he alive? Yes, but he's been hospitalized. He and a Ms. Jennifer Lewis were rescued from a rooftop after being trapped for 2 days. They're both suffering from exposure, dehydration, and hypothermia. Mr. Chin has asked us to contact you. Is he going to be okay? Physically, yes. But he's been asking for you and your daughter repeatedly. He seems extremely distressed. We'd like you to come verify his mental state. Tell him Emma and I evacuated safely. We're fine. I've told him that multiple times. He doesn't believe me. He keeps saying you must have drowned. 2 days later, the roads reopened enough for me to drive back. I left Emma with my parents and went to the hospital alone. Ryan looked terrible, gaunt, pale, with wild eyes that didn't quite focus. When he saw me, he started sobbing. You're alive. Oh God, you're alive. Emma. Emma's fine. We evacuated before the storm. But you didn't. I came home and the house was flooding and you weren't there. I thought you'd drowned. I thought I'd killed you. Why would you think you killed me? Ryan's face crumpled. Because I left you. I took the car to get Jennifer and I left you and Emma with no way out, and then the water rose so fast and I couldn't get back and I thought you were dead. Both of you. Because of me. We evacuated at 6 a.m., Ryan. 12 hours before the flood. I told you we were leaving. But I didn't think you really would. I thought you'd wait for me. Wait for you to choose us? No. I chose us myself. He grabbed my hand. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I chose her over you. If you died, it would have been my fault. I left my daughter to save my mistress. What kind of man does that? The kind of man you've always been. Someone who values being needed over being responsible. Jennifer, his voice broke. When we were trapped on that roof, waiting to be rescued, all she did was blame me. Said it was my fault we were there, that I should have made us evacuate, that she could have been safe with someone else. She didn't care about me. She just wanted to be saved. And now, she left. Soon as she could walk. Didn't even say goodbye. Ryan laughed bitterly. I destroyed my marriage for a woman who didn't give a damn about me. I pulled my hand away. You destroyed your marriage long before the flood. The flood just made it obvious. Please, please give me a chance to fix this. To be better. You had chances. You had 8 years of chances. You chose to spend them being Jennifer's hero instead of Emma's father. I'll change. I'll do anything. You'll change until the next Jennifer comes along. I'm done being the capable one who handles everything while you play hero somewhere else. What about Emma? You're her father. She loves you. But I'm done being your wife. I left before he could argue. The divorce took 6 months. Ryan tried everything, therapy, promises, grand gestures. But I'd already lived one life married to him. I knew how it ended. Our house was destroyed in the flood. The insurance payout was substantial. I bought a smaller house in a better location, higher elevation, safer neighborhood, closer to Emma's school. I also started a disaster preparedness consulting business, teaching people how to evacuate safely, what supplies to keep, how to protect their families. Within a year, I was profitable. Within 2 years, I'd published a book, Prepared: How to Keep Your Family Safe in Any Emergency. It became a bestseller after several storm survivors credited it with saving their lives. Ryan saw me on a morning show promoting the book. He called that night. I saw your interview. You're doing amazing things. Thank you. I just wanted you to know. I'm proud of you. And I'm sorry I never saw how strong you were. You saw it, Ryan. You just didn't value it. You valued women who needed saving more than women who were already strong. Is there any chance? No. You made your choice when you drove away to save Jennifer while Emma and I drowned. The only reason we survived was because I didn't wait for you to choose us. 3 years after the flood, Emma was 9 and thriving. She was an excellent swimmer, loved weather science, and wanted to be an emergency responder when she grew up. Ryan saw her every other weekend. He'd moved into a small apartment and worked a regular job. Jennifer, I'd heard through mutual acquaintances, had moved to another state and was engaged to someone else, another man who liked to play hero. I'd started dating someone, Marcus, a firefighter who understood that preparedness wasn't paranoia and strength wasn't undesirable, who valued capability rather than helplessness, who wanted a partner, not someone to save. One evening, Ryan dropped Emma off after his weekend. Can we talk? About what? About that day. The evacuation. I've been in therapy and I've been processing what happened. He paused. You knew. Somehow, you knew I would choose her over you. That's why you prepared everything yourself. That's why you didn't wait for me. I looked at my ex-husband, seeing the truth dawning in his eyes. You didn't trust me to save you. You didn't even trust me to stay. Yes. How? How did you know? I couldn't tell him about dying in another timeline. I knew because you've been showing me who you were for years. I just finally started believing you. Ryan's eyes filled with tears. If you'd trusted me, if you'd waited for me, you and Emma would have died. Yes. I would have killed my own child. Yes. He sat down heavily on my front steps. I can't live with that. Knowing that I chose her over Emma. That if you'd been less strong, our daughter would be dead because of me. Then learn from it. Be better. Be the father Emma deserves. Do you hate me? No. I don't think about you enough to hate you. Ryan looked up at me, and I saw the brokenness in his face. That's worse, isn't it? You're Emma's father. You'll never be irrelevant to her. But to me, you're someone I used to know. Someone who taught me that I'm strong enough to save myself. 5 years after the flood, I was featured in a documentary about hurricane survivors and disaster preparedness. The filmmakers interviewed me, Emma and Ryan. Ryan's segment was brutal in its honesty. I chose to save my mistress over my wife and daughter. If my ex-wife hadn't been prepared, if she hadn't been strong enough to save herself and our child without me, they would have died. I was given a second chance I didn't deserve because Sarah was capable enough to not need one. I'm not the hero of this story. I'm the cautionary tale. The documentary won awards. My business expanded. Emma started teaching junior emergency responder classes. And Ryan? He eventually remarried to a woman named Patricia who worked in emergency management. Someone who was just as prepared and capable as he'd claimed I was. Someone who would never need him to save her. I was glad. Not because I cared about him. I didn't, not anymore. But because Emma deserved a father who wouldn't choose a mistress over her safety. 7 years after the flood, Jennifer contacted me. It was a short email. Sarah, I know I have no right to reach out. But I wanted you to know that what you said to me in that coffee shop haunted me through the entire flood. When Ryan showed up at my apartment that day, I knew exactly what it meant. I let him take me anyway because I was scared. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that you were right. About everything. I hope Emma is well. Jennifer. I stared at the email for a long time. Then I deleted it without responding. Some people deserved closure. She wasn't one of them. 10 years after the flood, Emma was 16 and applying to colleges for emergency management. She wrote her application essay about the day we evacuated. She asked me to read it before submitting. Mom, can I ask you something? Always. That day. The evacuation. You knew Dad was going to leave us, didn't you? That's why you prepared everything yourself. I looked at my daughter. Strong, capable, smart, alive because I'd refused to let her father's choices determine her fate. Yes. I knew. How? because I'd seen who he was for years. I just finally believed what I was seeing. I'm glad you did. I'm glad you didn't wait for him. Me too, baby. Me too. Emma's essay got her into her first-choice college with a full scholarship. At her high school graduation, both Marcus and Ryan attended. The father who'd nearly killed her through negligence, and the stepfather who'd taught her that real strength meant being prepared for any crisis. That night, after everyone left, I stood in our storm shelter looking at the supplies we kept stocked. Water, food, first aid, communications equipment, everything a family would need to survive any disaster. Marcus found me there, thinking about the flood, thinking about how different things could have been. If you'd waited for him, if I'd been less prepared, less willing to save myself, less certain that I didn't need him. Do you regret anything? I thought about my two lives. The one where I'd drowned waiting for Ryan to save me, and this one, where I'd saved myself and built something real. No regrets. I learned the most important lesson early enough to make different choices. What lesson? That the person you can always count on to save you is yourself. Everyone else is just a bonus. Marcus pulled me close. I'm glad you saved yourself. Otherwise I'd never have met you. I'm glad too. We stood together in the storm shelter, surrounded by the supplies that represented everything I'd learned. Preparation isn't paranoia. Strength isn't undesirable. And sometimes the greatest act of love is saving yourself, so you can save the people who depend on you. Emma came downstairs. Mom, Dad, are you guys okay? We're perfect, I said, pulling my daughter into our embrace. We're prepared, we're together, and we're safe. That's all that matters. Emma hugged us both tight. I'm writing a paper for my college prep class about emergency preparedness and family safety. Can I interview you both? Of course, Marcus said. What's the main thing you want people to know? Emma asked me. I thought about Ryan standing in our driveway in his pajamas, watching me drive away with his daughter. About Jennifer's email years later, full of regret. About the life I'd built by refusing to wait for someone else to save me. The main thing, I said, don't wait for someone else to choose you. Choose yourself. Every time. Emma wrote it down, nodding seriously. Then she looked up with those wise eyes that had seen more than most 16-year-olds. That's what you did, isn't it? You chose us when Dad wouldn't. Yes. And I'd do it again. 1,000 times over. Do you think Dad regrets it? Not choosing us. I thought about Ryan's testimony in the documentary. About his careful, controlled visits with Emma, where he never quite met my eyes. About the fact that he'd married someone who would never put him in the position to fail again. I think he regrets what happened. I don't know if he regrets who he is. But it doesn't matter anymore. He's your father, and he's trying. That's enough. Is it enough for you? For me? I don't need his regret or his redemption. I have you, safe and alive and strong. That's more than enough. Emma smiled, the same smile she'd had at 6 years old when we'd played the superhero game on our practice evacuation drives. We really were like superheroes, weren't we? We really were. And we still are. Every single day, we choose to be prepared, to be strong, to save ourselves. Because in the end, that's the only superpower that matters. The ability to survive whatever comes, not because someone rescued you, but because you refused to wait for rescue. I survived a flood twice. Once, I drowned waiting for someone to save me. The second time, I saved myself. And that made all the difference.